Welcome back to the Toon Chat Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coleslaw. And when you think of the greatest cartoon comic artists of all time, you might think of Charles M. Schulz, Bill Watterson, or maybe Jim Davis. However, I believe there's one that is the best to ever do it, and it's none of those dudes. And that is because there is a man by the name of Moringmark that exists. I have never seen any social media artist as talented as Mark, so I have come up with 7 different words to describe this incredible lad, all starting with the letter C. Meaning I get to break out this outfit again, so arg and shiver me timbers, it's time to sail the 7 seas of Moringmark. Yeah, let's just jump into it. The first C we got here is consistent, and this might be the most impressive and apparent of all the 7 C's, as Mark posts a brand new mini-comic, I'd say nearly every other day, every single time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's amazing. There is no one that can even compare or come close to the consistency that Moringmark does on a social media platform. The quality of his work is always amazing, despite the jam-packed post schedule, and due to his constant flow of brand new content, he has over 1,300 original comics to his name. That's crazy. He really is one of a kind. He's in his own league with what he's doing. He's just super duper special. This man is the definition of consistency. And the second C you got here is continuous. And now, not much right now, but a few years ago, Mark tackled bigger, what you'd call story-driven or fledged-out comic projects with multiple parts. And those are all super cool. You have the ones like Echo Creek, Tale of Two Butterflies, Tom vs. Shenanigans, Enter the Ultiverse, Ship War, along other ones, but those are some of the best. And on top of that, he dabbled in his own original story with Aim for the Stars, which is incredible. And each post that falls into those continuous stories, they're like around 3 pages long, and posts can like be up to 50 more in an entire series, so that's very incredible. Mark's writing skills are just so super good. His story-driven comics appear as if they could be produced by Disney on Disney's social media accounts. That's how good they are. Really, his story-driven comics felt almost canon. They fit the characters super duper well from the show, and he just portrayed it super duper well. And now the next C you got here is creative. I am jealous of Moringmark's brain. You would think after you create a post over 1,300 mini comics, about the same, 2, maybe 3 shows, you would start to run out of creative ideas. But that's totally not the case with Mark. And a big reason for that is because he relates many of his comics to what's actually happening in the shows themselves. It shows that he's actually committed to watching and researching and dissecting the cartoons because his comics are packed full with references, Easter eggs, and story beats from the actual shows themselves. You could say that the 8th C that doesn't exist would be canon, because it's not technically canon, but it appears that way, and that is super duper special. Now the 4th C here is can't be stopped. Back in January of 2018, Moringmark posted this photo. The description attached to this post, in summary, was Mark describing how big and strong his father's hands seemed to be when he was a kid, and how that compares to his father's hands at the time of the post, as they were thin and pale due to a recent stroke his father had. Mark writes about his struggles mentally with the situation, as well as the struggles regarding loss of time and money, and I cannot speak for Moringmark for what he went through here, but what I can do is look at his work during this time. Between the news of the stroke in January of 2018 and the unfortunate passing of Mark's father in August of 2020, Mark made more than 550 mini-comics, not a one lacking in the quality department. And following Mark's season of loss, after a month-long hiatus, he came back stronger than ever in the tail end of 2020. Mark's work ethic truly is incredible and admirable. I think that it is without question that Moringmark is the most unstoppable and respectable indie comic creator of all time. Then we're going to move on to C number 5, and that is going to be changing. And this is where we can talk about something I like to call the 3 eras of Moringmark. From what I've been able to tell, there were 3 very distinct stages that Mark went through in his cartoony comic making lifetime. And there are actually 3 different shows that correspond to those different eras, so that's kind of cool. and those shows are Gravity Falls, Star with the Force of Evil, and The Owl House. And if you take a look at when all those 3 shows premiered, it makes a lot of sense. The Gravity Falls era lasted from 2012 to 2018, before it was even on Instagram yet, and then you got the Star vs. era, which was from 2018 to 21, and then that dwindled away with the Vampire AU, and then from 2021 to right now, you got the Owl House era. There are also some additional types of content in there, such as Aim for the Stars and original Mark character design posts, so it seems that Mark seems to post based on what show he's currently airing at the time. So I'm super excited to see what the next era of Moringmark will be following the conclusion of The Owl House Season 3. Next up, you got the 6th C, and that's Cole's favorite. Obviously, I wouldn't focus an entire podcast episode around a guy I kind of enjoy. Moringmark really is someone who I look up to and admire more and more every single day. I am always looking forward to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, as that's when Mark posts his original comic on Instagram, practically 7 days a week. My day instantly gets a little bit better every time I get that notification that Moringmark posted. I actually did an entire research project for school on this man, believe it or not. And then if I can find one, I'll show you a picture here. And a few of the projects that I've done, like the Cachador comic or the Connie Rejection AU, they were visually influenced by Mark and his incredible comics. I can for sure say that I am glad that Mark found his way into my life. And then the final 7th C here is going to be competent. At the end of the day, you really do just have to point out how well done and beautiful Mark's comics are. It's just really, really well done. Even with the very large number of posts Mark puts out there, every single post looks like Mark at its best. The panels and structures of the comics, always top-notch. The backgrounds never take a backseat. The lighting and shading, never forgotten. Every element is there. Mark also steps out of his style sometimes and dabbles in unfamiliar territory, but does it very well. Based on how much I've researched, I've come to the conclusion that there's literally nothing that Moringmark cannot do. He is just remarkable. So there you have it. There is my ramble about my favorite artist of all time in Moringmark. Go check him out if you've never heard of him. But now, we're gonna get to everyone's favorite segment. What the dump happened last month? Now we all know what happened last month. The Owl House Season 3 got its premiere with a Part 1, and I have 3 takeaways from it, so I'm gonna break that down. I was so hyped for this Season 3 premiere that I made a whole rap for it, so go check that out. But my first takeaway from this is that it didn't linger like its sister. Let me explain. The Owl House was airing alongside its sister show, Amphibia, before it got its big finale back in the spring and ended. But just like The Owl House, Amphibia Season 3 had the protagonist and her friends unwillingly transported back to Earth to start Season 3. However, Amphibia lingered far too long in Earth and things started to get less and less exciting. It took Amphibia 10 whole episodes to get back to, well, Amphibia. The Owl House, however, has the cast return to the Boiling Isles at the end of the first special. The Owl House didn't linger in the setting of Earth, but it still did give us a nice handful of fun references and moments that could only happen there. I think simply if your show is in a magical location 99% of the time, going to a place without that magic for too long can be a bit risky. Which is why I really appreciate Dana writing this show that the final 2 episodes are going to be on the other side of that portal. And my second takeaway here is that the time skip was done to perfection. The first episode of Season 3 spans over multiple weeks, possibly even up to a month. Our cast of characters stay in the human realm all the way up until Halloween, and because of that, they all have slightly different character and costume designs, and you know I'm gonna love to see that. Now you also gotta think that the same amount of time has passed in the Boiling Isles as well. Who knows how much has changed with the Collector in control, so I am very excited to see what Episode 2 will give us in regards to the state of the Isles. And my third takeaway is that this was the Hunter episode. Of all the episodes we have gotten featuring the Grimwalker known as Hunter, this one is the best and goes into the most depth for sure. Him and Luz being the only 2 who know about his cloning situation makes it a super interesting watch. They are also able to tie in Bellows well with Hunter in the end. No spoilers, but it's really cool. The state that he's in that final act is bone-chilling, and what happened to his palisman friend Flapjack hits all the right emotional beats, everything we could have hoped for. We also get a brief scene in the intro of him in a Flapjack outfit, so that already confirms him as the best character in this premiere for sure. So what do you think of the Owl House Season 3 premiere? Was it everything you could have hoped for? It was pretty cool. But with that, that's all I have time for today. Thank you all very much for listening to this podcast, and I'll see you all next month. See ya.